Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we've got a truly transformative explainer for you. We're going to fundamentally reframe something that, well, every single one of us deals with, but very few of us actually know how to process correctly. I'm talking about failure. If you're a focused learner trying to level up your mindset, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to dig into the psychology behind why setbacks hurt so badly, and more importantly, how we can actually turn that pain into undeniable fuel for growth. So let's dive right in.
All right, I want you to think about a recent time you tried something and it just completely fell apart. We all have that moment fresh in our memories, right? Usually we feel absolutely terrible about it, and then we just kind of walk away from the wreckage. But why does it hurt so much? Well, it really boils down to human nature. We are hardwired to want to feel competent. And when we aren't competent, that's when this insidious little whisper pops into our head saying, "You're just not good enough." The mirror basically lies to us. Suddenly, a failure feels like absolute proof that we're weak, or dumb, or broken in some way. It stops being about what we did, and it morphs into this devastating attack on who we are. Now, because that feeling is so deeply uncomfortable, our brains do something pretty strange, a psychological shutdown. When the pain of failing gets too sharp, your brain literally stops paying attention to the lesson right in front of it. It just pulls up a shield. And why? Because it's entirely too busy prioritizing the protection of your fragile ego over actually processing the data and learning from the mistake.
And this brings us to the sheer confusion of failure. Look, when you succeed, the path is crystal clear. You know exactly what worked, so you just repeat it. But failure, it is a tangled mess. Was it your strategy? Was it just bad timing? Did you not get enough sleep? Because of all this messy confusion, failure is objectively harder to learn from than success. So what do? We avoid the hard thing. We play it safe, and we end up stagnating for years.
But here's the massive pivot. The failure itself was never actually the enemy. Your belief about it is. Failure is not a stop sign, it's a signpost. It's just your brain's very clumsy way of telling you that you are right on the edge of learning something new. People who master the growth mindset treat failure not as the end of the story, but as pure, unadulterated data. And honestly, the best part is that this is a hard skill. Anyone can learn it.
So, to build that skill, we're going to use the 7 steps to growth. We'll be looking at seeing opportunities, saying not yet, focusing on the process, eliminating comparisons, seeking criticism, entering the shadow phase, and cultivating grit. Let's break these down into our toolkit for turning setbacks into launch pads.
Starting right off with step 1, you've got to stop seeing obstacles as blockades. Instead, look at them as a chisel. They are tools that reveal what you're actually made of. Every hard moment you face is really just a mandatory stress test. It teaches you what makes you tick, what scares you, and what you're actually capable of pulling off. Without the rock, you're never going to find the gem inside.
Which brings us to step 2, and this is a massive perspective shifter. When you fail, your immediate default reaction is probably, "I can't do this." But if you add just one tiny word to that sentence, it changes everything. I can't do this yet. Stumbling doesn't mean you're incapable, it just means you haven't arrived. That one word literally builds a bridge over what looked like a completely closed path.
Moving on to steps 3 and 4, this is all about choosing the process over the results. Basically, stop obsessing over the fruit and start focusing on watering the roots. When you put your energy into daily practice and those small, quiet improvements, setbacks don't devastate you anymore because your happiness isn't chained to the final outcome. And crucially, you have to stop looking at the trees in your neighbor's yard. Real growth starts the very second you stop comparing your race to someone else's and focus entirely on your own soil.
Now, as you focus on your own growth, you hit step 5. And there's a fascinating divide here in how beginners and advanced learners handle feedback. Beginners absolutely need praise to keep going. And, that's totally fine. But if you want to evolve rapidly, you have to crave honest, brutal criticism. Advanced learners actively hunt for it. Not because they enjoy the sting, nobody does, but because criticism acts like a magnifying glass. It shows exactly where the gaps in your skills are. Praise is comfortable, for sure, but criticism is the wrench that tightens your game.
Okay, sometimes a failure is so heavy that we just hit absolute rock bottom. Enter step 6, the shadow phase. I actually want to slow down here for a second, because this is vital. Real transformation usually requires you to disappear for a little while. It means working quietly in the dark, completely away from other people's opinions, and rebuilding yourself without needing any external validation. You stop complaining, you start internalizing. You take the agonizing pain of that failure and recycle it into raw, focused energy. Rock bottom is solid ground, which makes it the absolute perfect foundation for a launch pad. And coming out of that shadow phase requires step 7, grit. We hear that word thrown around a lot, but what is it really? It's a stubborn passion for long-term goals. It's not some quick burst of weekend motivation. It's a deep, quiet commitment that survives the boredom, the plateaus, and the painfully slow progress. Sure, talent might get you to the starting line, but grit is the only tool that actually carries you across the finish line.
When you stack all 7 of these steps together, you build what we call the Maverick Mind. And here is the ultimate, counterintuitive insight of this whole explainer. The people who succeed the most in life are not the ones who fail the least, no way. They are the ones who fail the most and just keep moving forward anyway. They don't just survive the fire, they let it forge them into something entirely new.
This Maverick mindset actually relies on a framework called the 6 Ds. Instead of just blindly obeying the rules, it requires profound determination for your specific goals and dedication to your own dreams, regardless of outside approval. It demands devotion and discipline to keep climbing even when progress is invisible. But perhaps most importantly, it requires delightment, which is finding genuine joy in pulling others up alongside you. Ultimately, the most successful minds aren't rigid. They are deeply adaptable and stubbornly dutiful to their own potential, just showing up every single day.
But listen, to fully unlock that mind, you have to assassinate 2 very quiet, very dangerous thoughts: underconfidence and the belief that you're simply average. Failing doesn't mean you're weak, it doesn't mean you're dumb, and it certainly doesn't mean you're broken. Calling yourself average isn't a biological fact, guys. It's literally just a bad habit. The second you sweep those 2 habits out of your brain, your true talent finally has room to breathe.
So let's make this practical. Here is your action item, your next small step. I want you to think right now of that specific thing you failed at recently, the one we talked about earlier, the one that stung enough to make you quit. Today, I want you to revisit it. Don't worry about mastering it immediately. Just commit to making one single, fresh attempt. But this time, powered by a mind that absolutely refuses to call a stumble the end of the road.
As you look at that setback one more time, ask yourself the only question that matters. What is this trying to teach me? Remember, failure is just raw fuel waiting for a spark. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer today. The next time everything falls apart, will you let the breakdown break you, or will you let it build you? Keep learning, keep growing, and I'll see you next time.